Hey, this is Patty Lynn from The Wind and the Wave, and you're listening to Recess with Spinelli.
You are listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN, Saratoga Springs, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. And today we are here with Patricia Lynn of The Wind and the Wave out of Austin, Texas. We saw them here at the Theater of the Living Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. What your audience doesn't know is that we're standing in a dark alleyway with a cobblestone street with some rap music in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yes, thank you for having me.
Dark alleys definitely seem to be the epitome of being in a band at some point, doesn't it?
It's my life, Alex. Thank you for pointing it out.
Now, would you have it any other way? Would bright and shiny lights make it easier?
Yes, I would have it many different ways than the ways it has been. The music industry is not the easiest industry to try to make it in, but I don't know why I'm still here. I guess it's my passion.
Well, what are some of those little things that, when you start questioning why you're making music and why industry, that reminds you to stick with it?
You know, it's like a really difficult thing to put into words if you're really passionate about something, but even a 30-minute set on a bill where I'm first of three in front of 500 people that don't know who I am somehow makes it worth it. I don't know what it is. Like I've always enjoyed the writing process. I've always enjoyed singing, and I love the performing aspects of being in the music industry, but there's a whole lot of BS that I don't love. But yeah, I don't know, like the purest forms of the things that I love keep me here. So a large portion of it is that interaction with your audience, that's sharing it with other people? Yeah, absolutely. I love connecting with people. That's part of the thing that I love most. Let's go into a little bit of the history. So how did you initially get started? It looks like from basic research you started around 2013-ish? Yeah, Dwight and I we're just really good friends, and we just started writing for the purpose of hanging out with each other and smoking weed and drinking whiskey and having a good time, and that's how our first record came about. Before we were even a band, we didn't even intend to be a band. We'd never intended to be on a major label. We never intended to release an album where people actually heard it, and we definitely never intended to go on tour. So this all kind of happened on its own. So as those big milestones started happening, did it change your outlook on the band? Gave me an opportunity and what looked like an open door, and so it's like this crazy dream that we keep chasing, you know? I think that's kind of the thing that our sophomore album is centered around, this idea that happiness is not a place, that you don't... I mean, of course we have, like, goals, you know? But they're more of, like, goals along this journey. Like, I want to have creative control. I want to be able to say what my album looks like. I want to be able to say it's released on vinyl. I want to be able to play at this venue with this, you know... I don't know what the end looks like or what I would even want it to look like. I'm paying my bills with music, and that's pretty cool. So the album Happiness Is Not a Place, you believe this comes out at the end of October, right? Could you fill us in? October 28th on Island Records. It will come out. I'm really excited about it. So our first single on the album made it into the top 20 a few weeks ago on AAA radio, so that's an accomplishment, you know. I never thought that would happen, so it's pretty cool. So while making the album, are there any particular parts of it, attributes or production of which you're particularly proud to have finished? Yeah, well, this is the first time that I've worked with an outside producer. We usually produce our own stuff, so Butch Walker produced this sophomore album, and it was a different experience. Dwight, my partner, not being in the room for everything, and me kind of just trusting more in my own abilities. And for Dwight, this is the first time he hasn't produced an album of a project that he's invested in like 17 years. So for him to let go of the reins and let Butch Walker do all the production on this album was challenging for him. It definitely is, in many ways, a more raw album. The entire thing was recorded live, and a lot of the vocal takes you hear are like first time, one way through, and there's lots of like wonky notes all over the place, but Butch is the kind of producer that flies by the seat of his pants, and it doesn't matter if that was technically the wrong note. There's character there and there's vibe there, and that's what we're going for. Just want to get like an honest recording of a moment, and a feeling and a true feeling. So, like I said, it was definitely a creative step that was necessary to this process.
Yeah, I've actually been hearing a lot of musicians speaking about recording live and kind of letting those mistakes or slip-ups stay in the record, because it kind of adds a human element that perhaps you don't get with the perfection of cutting everything down on Ableton or on a computer.
Yeah, there's definitely a very honest presentation to these songs. A lot of these songs, it was like the first time we played them live with a drummer and a bassist, and that's what you're hearing. It's like a very raw, honest moment of, I think I know this song, I know it sort of, here we go, So there's like an urgency to the sound.
Now, by the looks of it, at the end of the show, my takeaway would definitely be that your mission is to kind of make people feel in a better mood, to feel a bit more connected with each other, especially when you've told everybody to go give them a hug. Can you go into more detail about how you try and interact with the audience?
Well, I'm glad you picked that up, because I actually don't consider myself, and Dwight doesn't consider himself, we don't consider ourselves, we're best friends, we spend way too much time together. We don't consider ourselves positive people necessarily. We actually kind of tend to look at the darker downside of things, and Happiness Is Not a Place literally came from us having conversations and telling each other that happiness is not a place, and you just have to find joy in the everyday, especially on the road. Like, just life, there's so much bullshit in this life, and you have to find joy in the little things. You have to. There is a lot of sadness and violence and hate and fear in the world, and I just don't really have room for that in my life. And even though I don't consider myself a very positive person, that's why I have to tell myself to continue to be positive and to try to find the good in people and the joy in everyday monotony of life.
What do you hope folks take out of a listening session with your records when they sit down?
I just hope that they're able to relate the lyrics in some way to their own life, because I tend to only write about things that I've experienced, because I don't know how to write about things that I haven't experienced. So I write about my own story and my own feelings. So I hope that people are able to hear the lyrics and able to relate them to their own personal lives and take some positivity from it and just connect, or even if it just facilitates a good cry, because sometimes that is what music is good for. So I just hope I can be a light in some way. Yeah.
And before we get back to the show, do you have any other final thoughts, anything else that you want to talk about or you want to leave the audience with?
Take a chance and go pre-order an album that you have no idea what it sounds like and leave a review, even if it's a terrible review. Just let me know what you think.
You have been listening to Recess with Spinelli here on WSPN Saratoga, New York, Hoxton FM, London, England, the International Radio Festival, and the New York State Music Blog. And we have been speaking with Patricia Lynn out of Austin, Texas, of The Wind and the Wave. You can order their sophomore album, Happiness Is Not a Place, which is out on October 28th.